Hi everybody. In this video I'm going to show you how I take an old drill press stand that I currently just used to hold my vise, and I can take it outside if I need to do any grinding or anything. I'm going to turn it into a welding stand, kind of like something I saw on weldingtipsandtricks.com. Certainly not that complicated or meant for real welders to use, but something that I can use around my little shop. So I got this off-cut plasma cut piece of 1-inch plate from my local recycler. He probably still has maybe a dozen of these lying around. I know when I saw it that the channels that are cut in those, if you split it in half, you've got two channels cut in there. I can't cut through 1-inch plate like that, and I knew I'd find a use for them somehow. And then this idea came to mind while it was just in the scrap bin. And so the first thing I'm doing is splitting it in half on the bandsaw. This probably took half an hour. I think I had my saw set at a fairly high speed at this point, but that's 1-inch plate, and this is not a heavy-duty bandsaw. It's the lightest gauge that Grizzly sells. You can see it's a G0622, and it took about 30 minutes to cut through that piece. And you can see that this was not very exciting. I went and did other things, but got through it. The finish is not bad. This bandsaw is capable of decent cuts. I'm pretty happy with it, especially for the money. I believe you can get this same model at Harbor Freight. All the castings look the same, and I don't know that Grizzly added any bells or whistles or used any bearings that are better than probably the Harbor Freight one has. I know I've suggested to friends after buying this one that they just save the money and certainly save the freight and just go to Harbor Freight and get that one. So I've got those two cut, and the next thing, I take it over to the drill press, because what I want to do is I want to tap this for a 1/2 13-inch bolt. I almost said nut. But I'm going to run a bolt through there. I may use a nut as a lockdown. I haven't gotten that far yet. So the first thing I do is I'm drilling a small hole. I mean, obviously it's hole drilling 101. This is a lot of steel to get through. I don't remember what my speed was. Probably fairly low. And I think this is just a high-speed steel bit. A high-speed steel drill. I guess the chips look kind of okay. It's pretty noisy and a lot of camera shake there. I apologize for that. I wasn't sure if I was going to do a video on this anyway, so I probably should have used a tripod more often than I did. I've got that CRC cutting fluid. I don't yet have a good way to really start taps. I don't have a tapping head on my drill press. Maybe if I find one on Craigslist, I'll pick one up, but right now, and like most of you probably already know, do not use your chuck to hold your tap. They are both extremely hard steel. Your chuck doesn't get a good bite. It has a tendency to slip. I found on threading other things that the best that I can do right now is just to really try and just get a straight hole. I don't have a lathe yet. I don't have another system that works real well. In trying to tap a 1/2 13 by hand, you can see there it's taken me about 20 minutes to get through that. It is especially with these local Ace Hardware. Nothing against Ace Hardware. I love my local Ace Hardware. These are not professional grade taps. I'm not tapping 1/2-inch 13 holes every day, and obviously it shows. This definitely wears on your fingers using that small tapping wrench. I'm keeping my eyes out for one of the bigger ones, but every time I walk into my hardware store, I just feel like I'm not paying 20 or 30 bucks for that if I can probably find it on Craigslist. So yeah, I did switch to a long-handled screwdriver just to get a little more leverage to get through that. I eventually got through it. One of the things I've learned about tapping is that you have to back it out to break the chips. I learned that the hard way with the first hole I ever tried to tap. I broke my tap off in it. Fortunately, it didn't take much to get it out. I think I used an AVE trick on getting that tap out. I think I used a punch and just hit it in reverse, and it just came right out. So yeah, so in the second hole, I don't know if you can see that there. It is crooked with respect to the base of the clamp. So I needed to do some cutting. So after this, I probably could have made it work, but it looks even more amateurish than it is. So I took it back over to the saw, as we'll see in a second here, and I decided I need to square up this hole. And a little bit of filing there, a little bit of grinding. The the swarf from the plasma cutting definitely is not something you want to hit with your file. Just knocked most of that off. So now I'm trying to square this up. And we're going to start at 0, and you'll see how long some of these cuts take. And at this point, I've definitely turned my saw speed down quite a bit. It's probably running at the slowest speed. Again, that was a trick I saw on another video where the YouTuber suggested running your saw at the slowest speed to save flex on your blade. I don't know that that does anything or not. I have more issues if it binds than I think just running normally. It's made to run like that, and it's made to flex. So I don't know how much running at a slower speed saves other than no, it doesn't save anything. I don't think. Yeah, so here we are at 41 minutes, still trying to cut through this, and I think probably because the cutting forces at this point are so much lower than if there's a if I would have stood this up on end and cut through that, to get through most of it, the cutting forces, just the weight of the saw on the piece are much higher. And as you'll see later, I don't learn my lesson. So, still waiting for that to come off. I mean, it's been 40-some minutes. Now, you can see how out of square it was. Yeah, like 44 minutes in here. And this is something like 47 minutes, I think, we've faded to. And finally, we get through it at something like 51 minutes, I think. Again, don't do it this way. Run your saw faster. Stand it up on end and take advantage of the weight of the blade to get through the material faster. And there, that piece is off. So that's the first of 3 or 4 squaring cuts. I don't show all the detail on this one, but I also had to square off the inside. So there's, yeah, 51 minutes. Here I've just laid out some rough lines of material that I want to get rid of around the clamp. They don't need to be heavier than they need to be. I'm not going to be putting huge forces on these. These are not going to be for, they're not in the place of clamps. They're holders. So here I am squaring up one of the clamps. On the other clamp, I was trying to square up the inside so that it would be square with respect to the bolt. And I went a little too deep. I wasn't paying attention. I cut too far. So I had to go back in and weld the inside of that and then grind it down. That's what happens when you let your saw run and you don't pay attention to it. In the next video, I'm going to show you how I'm adding a telescoping base of wheels and casters to the bottom of it. I've already got a lot of that shot. It's just a matter of finishing the job and then editing. Appreciate you watching, and leave any comments below.